Hi, one of my friends asked me to share some of my personal budgeting strategies, so I figured I'd make a quick video for everyone. It should take about 5 minutes. So the one thing I'll dive into at the very start here is the biggest mistake I used to make and I see a lot of people make, which is not planning for things outside of your monthly expenses that are expenses that you incur. That can really throw off your budget. So there's kind of four pillars of how my wife and I do our budgeting. The four things that we really make sure to do is we make a big picture monthly budget, but then separate from that big picture budget that we outline, we create a monthly cash flow template. And this is what we use on a month-to-month basis to keep track of cash flow and to make sure we're staying on that big picture budget we created. Another huge and critical strategy we utilize, I've used this for years, is cash for weekly expenses. Things like food, movies, entertainment, going out to dinner, something comes up, just all the little random stuff. I need Clorox. That's all. That's all actually paid for by cash. When you put that stuff on a card, suddenly that $300 a week you budgeted for turns into $500 real quick. And then the last strategy is utilizing multiple checking accounts. I think this is really, really critical. One checking account for your actual monthly expenses, and then one checking account for accruing non-monthly expenses that you hit. And I'm going to show you what I mean in a spreadsheet here right now. So let's jump into a spreadsheet. This is a Google sheet that I created, and this is something that you can actually share. You can download this. I've got a link below to get this. You've got your credits and debits. Here's our income, and then the rest of this is where we're spending money. I've changed the numbers around, so it's all kind of generic and it's not exact, but it's a pretty realistic budget, I feel like. So there's a couple different categories here. There's your monthly fixed. These are things that come up and never change. My car insurance never changes. My car payment never changes. Our mortgage. These things never change. Then separate, I track our estimated variable expenses. And those can change a little bit, but these are probably about what they're going to be. And then, of course, like I said, I spend off of cash. We spend for our weekly spending anything that's not a monthly expense. We just do weekly on cash. And then where I'm a really big fan of this is actually our second checking account that we use. It's right in the same Wells Fargo, so I log in and I see both of these. These are my accrued expenses, and these are not expenses that hit monthly, but they're expenses that you should be planning for. And a lot of people don't plan for these very well, or they pull them out of savings or this or that, whatever it is. But things like traveling, things like car service, our dogs. Right now, my wife and I were pregnant, so we're accruing. This is actually an actual number. We estimated around $5,000 to have a baby and get the room ready and all that stuff. So over an 8-month period, we're accruing $625 a month. So these are things that are going to pop up, and these are things that will really get you if you're not planning for them. But they're not monthly, so it's kind of hard sometimes to work those in a budget. So we put those in a separate checking account. It's a separate account that we just can pull from at any time. Works really well. And then, of course, we're big believers in giving. We plan for giving, and then, of course, you've got a plan around savings. I will point out one strategy I'm a big fan of that we utilize is for this savings. This is, we're planning for a move to Nashville. We want to keep our condo here and rent it out. These things all cost. They cost a lot of money. So we, bit by bit save these things month over month, so that way, we've got to keep the MacArthur account. These things might be different for you because it just depends on what your goals and strategies are. So our goal is to keep our current condo and buy a house when we move to Nashville. So we've got a plan and save for both. I will point out, though, that this is separate from retirement savings. I think, for us personally, we like to have that pulled out before it even hits our checking account. Both of our companies have 401ks. I like doing it that way. If your company doesn't offer that, you can do the same thing pretty much with the same saving strategy, but just I really encourage having that retirement planning pulled out before you can even touch it. So this is that big picture budget. So this is our goal, and I've got all my credits and debits up here, and I know I've got it all calculated plus and minus 107. So if somehow I added, if I added another 600 bucks over here, suddenly I'm at minus 493 here. So kind of helps me make sure that our goals and savings are realistic and we can hit those. But then what's really important is my cash flow template. I make this on a monthly basis. So I keep a template, and every month I just right click and duplicate that template. So I kind of created a fake one for May here. And every one of these months is slightly different. Nothing's perfect with budgeting ever. So I just right click, duplicate that, and then this is where I keep track of how is this exact month going to look. So that should line up. This cash flow template actually should start, I always start it at 0 for the template, and the ending balance should exactly equal whatever that plus or minus in your planned budget is. But then the reality of each month sets in, and things change. Things change bit for bit. So this allows you to kind of plan ahead. Okay, for this month, here's where things are going to change. So maybe we can do a little more to savings, or a little less to savings, or you can adjust those things as needed. So finally, within that budget, as I showed you from the big picture budget, we've got these various things going into savings. So we don't have multiple savings accounts. I think that's just too complicated. So what I wind up doing is we keep one savings account for all of these different areas. Our emergency fund, buying a house, moving, keeping our condo, all these things. And then we've got a savings balance where I keep track of what, even though it's one savings account with one balance, I'm keeping track of how much is in each of these accounts. So this allows us to, I put some fake numbers in here, fake numbers that are things that actually happened to us, but, like from our emergency fund, we had some vet emergencies come up, and, our faucet broke and all this stuff. So this is, I like having a little fund because those things will always, always, always hit. If you look year over year, everybody has probably between 500 and several $1,000s of random stuff that you never could have predicted. So that's what that's all about for us. But this kind of allows me to have one savings account where we're keeping track of all our different savings goals. So again, I've got the link below. This is just an open link. Anybody can download this budget sheet and fill it in for themselves and their family. But again, when we go back to the goals, you want your overall big picture budget. I do this once a year. You want your cash flow template so that on a month-to-month basis you can plan, okay, what's this month going to look like financially? Really important, do your weekly spending off of cash. I can't emphasize that enough. It is incredible how much less you will spending your weekly off of cash and letting your monthly expenses just come out of whatever accounts you have. And then last but not least, within your budget, be really honest about those things that you should be accruing. We're having a baby, we got to accrue for that. Car service, $50 a month isn't a lot to think about, but when you think about all the little stuff that adds up, it winds up being $1,300 a month. Again, this is just kind of a fake budget here, but travel $200. Well, how often are you going to be buying plane tickets? How much are those plane tickets going to cost? Add that all up, plan that, and then divide it by 12 and accrue it over the year. That way you don't have those big expenses hit out of nowhere. So if you do those things, I will tell you, you can do some pretty incredible things with budgeting, being able to save up for whatever you want to. And it's really a slightly complicated, but a very stress-free way to do budgeting. I hope this was helpful.